Hello and welcome back to Major League Talk Giants edition. Today is Monday, June 12th, 2023. My name is Henry, and today we're going to be going over the series against the Chicago Cubs. This is the 21st series for the Giants this year. And it was kind of weird because they're coming from the Rockies, where they just swept. They're going to have this 3-game homestand, and then they're going to go on a road trip. So it was just a little weird how they did that. However, Giants just came from sweeping the Rockies. Their previous two home series, they'd lost to the Orioles and the Pirates. So the Giants are looking to try and have a strong mini homestand here to go on their road trip. And it just didn't happen. So in game one, it was kind of a quiet game, not a lot of offense going on. The Giants scored first. They were holding on, and then the seventh inning happened, and it all went to shit. Giants ended up losing that one-run game 3-2. Game two was a little surprising for anybody that was listening or watching. I've got my own issues with not being able to watch it. We'll get to that later. But the Cubs pitcher Hendricks went 8 innings, walked one, gave up 1 hit. That was it. Giants had 2 base runners for 8 innings. And this guy only did it with 3 strikeouts. So 24 outs he had to get, and only 3 of them were on his own. The other 21 were the defense behind him. So that was kind of rough to watch. And then Junis giving up 4 runs. Giants lost game 2, 4-0. And then in game 3, it's like the offense suddenly got, some spark of life. They just came out. Bats going off. 13-3, the Giants won. 4 home runs. 2 of them from Estrada, 2 of them from Peterson. Splash hit number 101. You kind of wonder where this was over the other 2 games. Could have at least used it in one of them. And that's where you kind of get to the weird thing about how series go sometimes. It can be very weird, very lopsided. Some people just have bad days strung together, and that's how it goes. Giants ended up winning, like I said, 13-3. They lost the series overall, 1-2. And somehow, even though they lost the series, it's kind of funny when you think about the fact that they did outscore the Cubs overall in the series, 15-10. But hey, that is baseball. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with game 1. This is a Dave Sclafani start. Stroman was starting for the Cubs, and honestly, here's one habit I kind of want to get into when it comes to talking about sports, talking about the teams that I like, and just talking about all the teams in general. One thing I've noticed that can start to happen in a lot of guys, and when you start talking about your teams, and these are teams that you're emotionally invested in, so you kind of you really get into it. Instead of being negative about the one team, unless they just make some seriously boneheaded mistakes, which happens. I mean, you start racking up errors. Yeah, it gets aggravating. But I think that sometimes the focus needs to be shifted back to sometimes you just got outplayed that day. The other team was just better that day. Doesn't necessarily mean they're better overall. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. That day, they were better than you. And honestly, Stroman was better than Dave Sclafani. He got the ground balls that he needed. His defense was working well behind him. But Dave Sclafani did well too. And that's the other thing that we shouldn't lose sight of. Dave Sclafani took a scoreless game to the 7th inning, but Gabe Kapler waited till he got 2 runners on to pull him. Dave Sclafani's final line was 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. And if you want to compare that for a little bit, Stroman went 6.2, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. So not too much different, honestly. Stroman gave up more hits, same amount of walks. Stroman got more strikeouts. But Dave Sclafani did well, and honestly, if he had just stayed in the dugout, he'd come away with a 6 innings no earned, but it was still a good quality start from Desclafani. Now for our lineup, you had Wade Jr. at first. He went 0 for 2 with 2 walks and a run. Peterson was DHing. He had a 4 for 4 day. Only 1 RBI out of those 4 hits, though, but at least it's the one. Strada was at second. He went 1 for 4 with an RBI and a strikeout. Conforto was in right. He went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Yaz was in center. He went 1 for 4 with a strikeout. Sable was in left. He went 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Bailey was catching. He went 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. And then Davis would come in to pinch hits in the 9th. He went 0 for 1. Schmidt was playing third. He went 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Flores would come in to pinch hit also in the 9th. He went 0 for 1 with a strikeout. And then Crawford was playing short. He went 1 for 4 with a run and a strikeout. So for people keeping count, that's 7 hits and 32 at-bats. Only 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, 4 walks. As for the rest of the pitchers, the first one to come out to try and get through the 7th with 2 runners on was Ryan Walker. So Desclafani pitched to 2 batters to start the 7th. Suzuki singled and then Happ walked. So now you got 2 runners on, no outs. So Ryan Walker comes out. The first batter he faces Swanson. He flies out the center, but the other 2 runners advance. Then he hits a batter with a pitch. All right, 1 out, bases loaded. Gets a 2 RBI single. Sucks, but now it's a 1-run game. Then he walks the next batter. So now you still have 2 on, or now bases loaded again, 1 out, another RBI single, and then a strikeout to get the 2nd out finally. But now it's a 3-1 ball game. So Cap decides, all right, well, let's get Tristan Beck up here. Beck comes out, gets a ground out to second in the 7th inning. Beck would go on to finish the game as well. In the bottom of the, or in the top of the 8th, Beck comes on, gives up a single, but then gets a strikeout, a pop out, and a strikeout. And in the 9th, he has a gives up a single, gets a fly out, and then gets a double play to essentially make it a 1-2-3 inning, just in the non-traditional way. That kept it a 3-2 ball game at that point, and then the offense just couldn't do anything to try and at least tie the game to force extras. And they went down in order: fly out, strikeout, strikeout. So ultimately, the offense would leave 7 on base. They'd go 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Peterson and Estrada got 2 out RBIs. Crawford and Estrada hit doubles. Estrada and Bailey ground into double plays. And the defense turned 2 double plays. Walker was charged with a wild pitch. Walker also hit a batter with a pitch. So rough. One run game. You got to try and win those as much as you can. If you can't win the close games, it's going to be a rough season. But we move on to the pitcher report. So we're going to look at Desclafani here. He threw 93 pitches in his 6+ innings. That was 38 sliders, 21 sinkers, 18 four-seamers, 10 changeups, and 6 knuckle curves. Now, the changeups averaged 86.2. Most of them stayed in the mid to low 80s, or the mid 80s. The lowest one is 84.6, but he had a 90.5 changeup out of nowhere. His four-seamers averaged 92.7. His knuckle curves averaged 81. And his sinkers, 92.7, and the sliders, 87 on the nose. Four-seamers, sinkers, changeups, lateral movement in. The slider, not a lot of lateral movement, just some drop. And then a knuckle curve, a little bit of lateral movement out, and a lot of drop. Strike zone distribution. Not too many that are like way low out of the zone. There's a few that are low in the zone, low out of the zone, but not like in the dirt, it looks like. Most of them kind of spray up and out and up and in, and some above the strike zone, obviously. He threw 43 pitches in the strike zone and 50 pitches out of the strike zone. Batters would swing at 44 of them and take 49. as far as this kind of distribution, they only swung at like 4 of his 4 seamers, took the rest of them. About a 50-50 split there on those knuckle curves. They swung at more of the sinkers than they took. Took more of the changeups than they swung at, and swung at more of the sliders than they took. He threw 35 balls and 23 strikes, 14 called strikes, 9 swinging strikes. Batters made contact on 35 of his pitches, 19 foul tips, 13 hits for outs, 3 base hits. Those base hits, those were all sliders. 7 hard hits, and that's 2 ground balls, 4 line drives, and 1 fly ball for all of his hard hits. And then calling the balls and strikes, Pat Hoberg, he's got a 95% accuracy, 97%, 96%, excuse me, consistency. Overall favor of plus 0.18 runs for Chicago Cubs. Impactful missed calls, top of the first, Ace Clefani to Madrigal. No outs, bases empty, 2-0 count, strike is called a ball. Bottom of the second, Stroman to Sable. No outs, runner on first, 1-1 count, ball called a strike. And then bottom of the ninth, Alzolay to Flores, 1 out, bases empty, 1-2 count, strike called a ball. His called ball accuracy, called ball accuracy is 98%. 2 of 100 called balls are true strikes. Called strike accuracy, 87%. And this is where small numbers lead to an kind of small sample size leads to a misleading number. 5 of 38 called strikes for true balls. So I only called 38 strikes. So that I'm sure if he'd called more, that probably would not be an 87%. It might be a little higher, maybe in the 90s. So that is game 1. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next game, which let me go ahead and tell you, I was already a little upset about this game to begin with, and it hadn't even started before my upset and my aggravations came about. So this game wasn't being broadcast on NBC Sports Bay Area, which is where I normally watch all my Giants games. And this was a Saturday. I had nothing to do that day. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get to watch the game. But it was being broadcast on Fox. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I typically can still watch it on Fox. However, Fox was also at the same time broadcasting the Yankees and Red Sox game. Now, I live in Hawaii, so I was thinking West Coast, Pacific, surely they're going to show a West Coast game, not an East Coast game. I was wrong. I got the Yankees and the Red Sox. And let me tell you something. And I've heard this opinion before, and it's not as unpopular as it probably would have been about 10 years ago. The Yankees and the Red Sox is not that great of a rivalry anymore. It just isn't. It's really not. Both teams kind of like the fans trash on the teams themselves. Like the fans don't need any help from anybody else. And albeit they're in the AL East, the AL East is a very strong division, but it's not the rivalry that it once was. There's a lot of history in that rivalry, but not so much that you need to show it to every single TV set in the country on a Saturday afternoon when there are other baseball games being played at the same time. And I get it. There's not a lot of marketability for a random Cubs and Giants game, but come on. It's not like I'm asking to watch the Giants and Cubs when I'm living in New England. I'm living in Hawaii. Oh, well. Anyway, but my aggravations would continue in this game. I ended up just listening to it on the stereo. I'd even gone through the trouble of writing down everything I needed to for the scorebook, but then I decided not to score it because I couldn't watch it. John Brebbia opened the game. He went 2 innings and only 1 strikeout, but no runs and no hits. Looking at the play-by-play, he had a 1-2-3 first on a line out, ground out, and a line out. And then 1-2-3 second, a line out, a strikeout, and then a ground out. So Brebbia, good open to the game. Like, all right, let's go. Score this game. And then Junis came on for 2 2/3 innings, and in those 2 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 5 walks, 2 home runs, 4 earned runs. Or excuse me, I read that wrong. 2.2 innings, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's less lopsided. 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 home runs though still, and 4 earned runs. And it didn't help that on the other side of that, Hendricks was essentially no hitting the Giants with only 3 strikeouts. Let's see. I don't think the Giants even got their first hit until the 8th inning. Let's look at this. First, 1, 2, 3. Second, walk. Third, 1, 2, 3. Fourth, 1, 2, 3. Fifth, 1, 2, 3. Sixth, 1, 2, 3. Seventh, 1, 2, 3. Eighth, 1, 2, double 3. Wow. And like I said, the kid only got 3 strikeouts, and you go back and look at it again. Ground out, fly. Ground, fly, ground. Fly out, ground out. Bunt, grounded, ground, fly. Line out, strike out, line out. Grounded, strikeout. Strikeout, grounded, ground. Like a lot of grounded balls. Like for 2 straight games, the Giants were being made to give up just ground ball contact. Like these pitchers were eliciting the contact they needed. Ground out, then the double, then ground out, then a double, then a fly out, strikeout to end the game. Like that's aggravating to listen to. It's aggravating to watch, but it is what it is. And like I said, as much as you want to try and look at like, well, why did the Giants not get a hit? You got to tip your cap to this pitcher that just had a career game. Like, and looking at Hendricks, I don't really know much about him. I'm not a Cubs fan, but I'd never even heard of Kyle Hendricks until this game. And you look at his last few games, he went 8 innings, no earned on us, only 1 hit and 1 walk. Against the Padres, 6 innings, 4 earned, 5 innings, 1 earned against the Rays, 4.1, 3 earned, but 5 total runs against the Mets. So not a great track record either. He just comes in and decides that he wants to really play baseball against the Giants. Hey, tip of the cap, man. You did great. Unfortunately, the Giants lost. We did poorly. Let's look at the lineup. It's going to be quick. Wade Jr. at first, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Estrada at second, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Peterson DHing, 0 for 3. Davis at third, 0 for 3. Conforto in right, 0 for 2 with a walk. Yastrzemski, 0 for in center, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Haniger, 1 for 3. Sable catching, 0 for 3. Crawford at short, 0 for 3. 1 hit, 28 at bats. That is too close to 27. Hey, yeesh. 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position, left 2 on base, 1 double. So, and let's take a quick look at Junus's performance here. So, like I said, Brebbia came out, had 2 great scoreless innings, and then you got Junis. First batter he faces, and on a 1-1 count, slider just right there in the middle, hung a slider middle, home run. All right. Then he hits the next batter with a pitch. Then he gets a strikeout, a grounded to a fielder's choice, and a strikeout. All right. 2 strikeouts, but he also gave up a homer and hit a batter with a pitch. Not a great third, but it was still just a 1-0 game. Top of the 4th. First batter, again, gives up a homer. This one was on a 2-1 count, but again, he hung a slider middle, 82 miles an hour, right down the middle of the plate, home run. And he gives up a single, a fly out, strikeout, lineup. All right, so now it's 2-0. Still within grasp, right? But then the top of the 5th happens. Strikeout, walk, double, So now 2 on, strikeout. 2 on, 2 out. He's just got to get the third out. First pitch, a sinker low in the zone. It's hit for a 2 RBI single. Kapler decides that's enough at 4 earned runs with 1 out, or excuse me, 2 outs and 1 on. Brings out Manaea. Manaea gets a fielder's choice. Manaea ends up pitching the majority of the game, which is why we're going to look at his pitcher report. He went 4.1 innings, 5 strikeouts, no earned runs. In the 6th, he had a 1-2-3 with a ground out, lined out, and a pop out. In the 7th, he had a 1-2-3 with a strikeout, pop out, and a strikeout. In the 8th, he faced 4 batters, fly out, ground out, hit by pitch, strikeout. And then in the 9th, he had a 1-2-3, pop out, strikeout, strikeout. Honestly, very good showing from Manaea. He's been getting better. He's been showing the right progression that we all have been hoping he would give. And to kind of put that into perspective, in his last, let's see, his last 5 starts, he's only given up 4 earned runs, and those all came in Colorado in a win, right? Like, he didn't get the decision there, but the Giants came away with a win in that game. And honestly, coming away from Coors Field with less than 5 runs sometimes is pretty fucking awesome. Like, he did well in that game. 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 4 earned runs, 5 hits, over 4.2 innings. It's not bad, but no earned in this one. And then there are 3 more no earns before you get to another earned run game, and that was the Phillies. He only went 1.2 innings, gave up 1 run. So he's progressing in the right direction. He's getting better. He's getting more strikeouts, and that's what you're wanting to see. So let's look at his pitcher report. He threw 71 pitches, 29 four-seamers, 22 sliders, 17 changeups, and 3 sinkers. The changeups were 87 on the nose. The four-seamers, 94.1. The sinkers, 92.4. And the sliders, 79.4. As for the movement, sliders were coming in, changeups, four-seamers, and sinkers were going out. Sliders had the most drop. Spray across the strike zone. He didn't have anything that was really low. The lowest ball is outside of the strike zone on the inside. Excuse me, it's inside or outside of the zone into a righty. But looking at where it is as far as its height, it would probably still be maybe an inch from the strike zone. So stayed pretty high, not a lot of low balls. Down and into a righty to up and away from a righty. He threw 43 pitches in the strike zone and only 28 out of the zone. Batters would swing at 43 of his pitches and take 28. They took more changeups than they swung at, or excuse me, they swung at more changeups than they took. About a 50-50 split on the sliders. Swung at more four-seamers than they took, and took more sinkers than they swung at. 19 balls, 18 strikes, 9 called strikes, 9 swinging strikes. The swinging strikes were mainly on his four-seamers. He also got a swinging strike on a slider and 2 changeups. Batters made contact on 34 of his pitches, 26 foul tips, and 8 hits for outs. And those are 50-50 changeups and sliders. He only got 3 hard hits, 1 ground ball, 1 line drive, 1 fly ball. The ground ball and line drive were both changeups, and the fly ball was a slider. And calling the balls and strikes was Jacob Metz. 93% overall accuracy, 94% overall consistency, with an overall favor of plus 1.14 runs for the Cubs. Wow. Impactful missed calls, top of the 7th, Manaea to Amaya. No outs, bases empty, 2-2 count, strike is called a ball. Bottom of the 7th, Hendricks to Estrada. No outs, bases empty, 2-2 count, ball called a strike. And top of the fifth, Junis to Madrigal, 1 out, bases empty, 1-2 count, strike is called a ball. Okay, so all three of those are against the Giants. His called ball accuracy was 96%, 3 of 79 called balls were true strikes. His called strike accuracy, 88%, 6 of 48 called strikes were true balls. Now, even though the Giants did had disappointing performances in games 1 and 2, they were able to salvage the series and not get swept at home. Game 3, it was a little it's like I said, it's almost like the offense was like, oh yeah, we can swing the bat and play ball. Great offensive game for the Giants. But it was definitely a bullpen game. You had Brebbia come out for an inning, then Beck came out for 2 innings. He got the win. Walker was out there for 3, so we're going to look at his pitcher report. Walker's final line: 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts. Walker's been doing well also. We're going to look at some of his previous games since he's been up in the big leagues. And then Jackson came out for an inning. Taylor Rogers came out for an inning. Crawford got to pitch the last inning. That was cool to see. He's been wanting to do that for a long time. So Brebbia, that first inning, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, 1 hit. And then let's take a look at the play-by-play for those. So yeah, Brebbia's first inning, a double, a strikeout, a walk, a fly out. So managed to get out of there. And then Beck came out for 2 innings. Infield single, then a fly out, a walk. So now 2 on. Fielder's choice to shortstop, but now you got runner on second, runner on third. And then a fielding error allows the next batter to reach, and as a run comes across, and then a strikeout. So Beck's first inning, not that great. Only 1 run did get across though, so that was nice. And at that point, it's only a 2-1 game, because in the bottom of the first, Peterson hit a 2-run home run after Estrada got hit by a pitch to lead off the game. And then Tristan Beck's the second inning he pitched, which would be the 3rd inning. Infield single, fly out, single. So now runners on the corners, 1 out. And then a fielder's choice, but then a score came across. Fielder's choice and strikeout. So now it's a 2-2 game. Now, after those 2 innings, Ryan Walker would come out for the next 3 innings. So Walker starts in the 4th, gets a ground out, gives up a single, then a foul out. As a 1-2-3 5th, strikeout, ground out, strikeout. In the 6th, he gives up a run. There was an error on Walker on the first batter. Then a fielder's choice, a single, a fielding error, then a fielder's choice, but a score comes across, and then a fly out. So a messy 6th there. And then we'll talk about Jackson, Rogers, and Crawford after we go over the lineup. So here's the lineup. A bit more activity this time. Estrada was at second. He went 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs, 2 home runs, 1 strikeout, 3 runs himself. Peterson was DHing. He went 4 for 4. So that's 2 different 4 for 4 games for him. 4 runs, 4 RBIs, 2 home runs, 1 walk. Davis at third. He went 1 for 3 with 2 walks, a strikeout, and a run. Conforto was in right. He went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs, a strikeout, and a run. Flores was at first. He went 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Yaz was in center field. He went 1 for 4 with a walk. Haniger was in left. He went 1 for 4 with a walk and a run. Sable was catching. He went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 strikeouts. And Schmidt was playing shortstop. He went 2 for 4 with 1 strikeout, 2 runs himself. It's 15 hits and 37 at-bats, 13 runs, 4 home runs, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts. That's a great offensive day. And then, like I said, for the next few innings for pitching, Jackson came out in the 7th. He got a ground out, a pop out, and then a ground out. Taylor Rogers came out for the 8th, had a 1-2-3 inning on 2 strikeouts and a ground out. And then, just a great sight to see, Brandon Crawford on the mound for the 9th, walked the first batter in 4 pitches. Then a single given up. So now you got 2 on. Then he gets a fielder's choice to 3rd. So now you got, fielder's choice, but you've got runners at 2nd and 3rd. Then you got a fly out and a foul out. Brandon Crawford's ERA is a 0, everybody. Look at that. Going back to the offense, they left 7 on base, went 5 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Flores stole a base. Sable got a 2-out RBI. Davis and Schmidt hit doubles. Schmidt hit 2. Peterson hit 2 home runs, and Estrada hit 2 home runs. However, we did pick up 4 errors. Haniger got 1 on fielding. Schmidt got 2. 1 fielding, 1 throwing. And Walker got 1 for a catch. And when I was listening to the game, I believe it was John Miller even said that he didn't think Schmidt deserved 2 because it was the same play, but he booted it and then missed the throw to get the out. So, Giants come away, managed to avoid the sweep, 13-3 on their bullpen day. Let's take a look at Ryan Walker because he did pitch 3 innings. He had the most innings up there. Not the most pitches, however. He only threw 51 pitches to Tristan Beck's 62. So Ryan Walker, 51 pitches, 33 sinkers, 18 sliders, 95.1 on the sinker, 83.5 on the slider for the average. Sinker comes in, slider goes out. Across the strike zone, he stayed pretty low. He doesn't go above the strike zone at all. Looks like he stays right around the letters and the elbows, and then comes down and then starts going out and away from a righty. He threw 27 pitches in the strike zone, 24 out of the zone. Batters swung at 24 of his pitches and took 27. They took more sinkers than sliders. They also swung at more sinkers than sliders, which, whatever. 16 balls, 13 strikes, 11 called, 2 swinging. Both those swinging strikes were on sliders. Batters made contact on 22 of his pitches, 11 foul tips, 6 hits for outs, 5 base hits. 3 sliders, 2 sinkers for the base hits. No hard hit balls. He did not get any hard contact. That's what you like to see, as long as it can still get to the infielders. Nestor Ceja was calling the balls and strikes, 94% overall accuracy, 95% overall consistency, plus 0.13 runs for the Giants for his overall favor. Impactful missed calls, bottom of the 4th, Wesneski to Yastrzemski. Now that's a couple of nice names. No outs, runner on first, 3-1 count, ball is called a strike. Wesneski to Yastrzemski, that's just fun to say. Then in number 2, bottom of the 5th, Rucker to Haniger, 2 outs, runner on first, 3-2 count, strike is called a ball. And then top of the 6th, Walker to Horner, 1 out, bases loaded, 0-1 count, strike is called a ball. Called ball accuracy, 95%, 7 of 131 called balls are true strikes. Called strike accuracy, 91%, 4 of 46 called strikes were true balls. All right. So that's games 1, 2, and 3 of that 3-game set. Now, looking at the Giants standings currently, in the West, they're 33-32. So even though we lost the series, we're still a game above 500, which is good. That's we had that 1-game cushion, so that's nice. That puts us 7 back of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are in first place at 40-25. They're on a 5-game win streak, by the way. That puts us 3.5 back of the Dodgers, who are 37-29. They are like 3-7 over their last 10. That puts us 2 games ahead of the Padres, who are 31-34. So they're clawing their way back up. And that puts us 7 games ahead of the Rockies, who are 27-40. So yeah, Padres are getting closer. The Dodgers are sinking a little bit, but eventually they're gonna do what Dodgers teams do. Looking at the wild card, so the Dodgers still have that first spot. The Marlins have that second spot, but here's the thing: the Marlins and the Dodgers have the exact same record, 37-29. Excuse me, but here's the difference: the Dodgers are 3-7 over the last 10. The Marlins are 8-2. So that's how that's catching up. And then the Brewers had that third spot at 34-32. So that puts us half a game out at 33-32. And the Phillies are a full game behind us at 32-33. So, and once again, the Padres are a game behind the Phillies at 31-34. And the Reds are only half a game behind them at 31-35. Same record as the Mets. So looking at that spread, that's a lot of teams that are still right there in that mix that can have a good, strong summer that can really start getting going. I've got more faith in the Mets than the Reds in getting going, but the Reds have been really, really good these past few games, especially considering they've had that inrush of young talent. Ellie De La Cruz is just astounding. They're 5-5 over the last 10. The Mets are 2-8. The Padres, though, are 6-4, and the Phillies are 7-3. So those are 2 teams that are starting to get going, starting to catch it. The Giants, are only 5-5, as are the Brewers. So that kind of shows you too that pace that's going on right now between the Padres and the Phillies and how they're starting to catch on finally. Those are the teams that the Giants really have to look out for as far as what's going to happen down the stretch once we start getting closer to August and September. So hopefully the Giants can have a really good, strong summer. The next 2 teams they've got coming up are the Cardinals and the Dodgers. And like I said, looking at them, both of those teams are 3-7 over their last 10. But it's the Cardinals that we already have a winning record against. We're 3-1 against them right now. And the Cardinals at the current time are 27-39. So the Giants will be playing them in about less than half an hour, actually. It's 1:20 here in Hawaii at right now. And then, so a couple of things I wanted to take a look at before we finally left this off. Like I said, Minaya is trending in the right direction. I am not upset at the 4 earned runs he gave up in Colorado, especially when that game came out in favor of the Giants anyway. Right. Let's go back and look at that. That was a 10-4 game. We'd won by 6 runs. I'm not upset at Minaya giving up 4 earned and keeping it at 4 earned with no home runs in course. But looking back at his last starts, like in April, 5 innings, 3 earned, 2.2, 4 earned, 8 total. That was that Nationals game. That was rough. But then Phillies 1.2, 1 earned, Twins 3.2, no earned, Brewers 1.1, no earned, Pirates 4 innings, no earned, 1 run. Looking at a strikeout total 6, 4, 2, 8, 3, 3, 5, and 5. I think the trend is good. I think that having Brebbia start before he comes out is a strategy that is winning. It is a strategy that is working for both of those pitchers. Even though Kapler has said that he is considering pulling Mania back into the starting rotation with what's going on with the rotation. I mean, Webb's definitely number one, Cobb's number two, Dave Sclafani's up and down. Wood is back on the IL, and Stripling's on the IL. So kind of look at our pitching situation. It's like, well, we got three. We can bring Mania back out for four, but I digress. And then I kind of want to look at Walker. His first game was back in May 21st, against the Marlins, and you know he's a reliever. 1 inning, 2 innings, 1 inning, 1 inning, 1.2, 1.2, 3. This was his longest outing, and he did well. 2 hits, 1 run, no earned, 2 strikeouts, and you look at total, he's given up 1 run in May. He's given up 1 run in June so far. And 2 total runs in June, 2 total runs in May. So he's given up 2 earned runs, 4 total runs. Let's see, 10 hits. So not bad. Not bad at all, kid. I think he'll be just fine as we move forward. So a couple more things to look at real quick that I had pulled up here. The Giants currently. So I wanted to look at some of the splits. 33 and 32, 1 game above 500. Okay. 18 and 17 at home, 15 and 15 on the road. And I'm kind of like, I almost want to say that the fan base wouldn't be as incensed half the time if that home win-loss record was more to the win side and we were just losing more games on the road. I almost feel like people would be less incensed at that. But the fact that we only have one more win at home, and we did just lose our last 3 home series against the Cubs, Orioles, and the Pirates. We came out of there 3 and 3 and 6. So not really where you want to be. In April, they were 11 and 15. May, they had a better month, 17 and 12. June is still a winning month at 5 and 4. So just keep that in mind. And it's the 1-run games though. Like they're 6 and 8 in 1-run games. And they're 8 and 13 in blowout games. So they're not really like dominant in any one aspect of the game. This is a 500 team that is playing 500 ball, that is winning not too close, but not far runaway games either. And they're 5 and 5 in the last 10, like I said. And the Cubs, when they were coming in, the Cubs now have a 4 and 6 June, and they are 6 and 11 in 1-run games. And then taking a look at the Cardinals, they are not having a good June either. 2 and 7 in June. They're 7 and 15 in 1-run games and 9 and 6 in blowouts. So they're winning their blowouts, but they're not winning the 1-run games. So this is an opportunity for the Giants to take advantage of a struggling team currently. Possibly win some 1-run games, get that number bolstered. I wouldn't mind seeing 2 1-run games and a blowout. Then we go into the Dodgers in LA, and I don't even want to think about that right now. However, after my next episode, recapping the St. Louis series and doing some more talking about the Giants, that will be it for me for a couple of weeks. I'll be going on vacation. I start vacation this Friday, and I will be back on the island on the 30th. So I'll be gone for 2 weeks off the island. My wife and I are traveling around. We're going to go to San Diego, watch the Padres game there. We're gonna go to San Francisco, watch 2 Giants games there. Then we're going to Denver. We're gonna watch a Rockies game there. By the end of this trip, I will have seen all 5 NL West teams in person because Padres game, they're playing the Rays. The first Giants game, they're playing the Padres. The second Giants game, they're playing the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies are playing the Dodgers when we go to see them. I will maybe do a quick catch up episode of the 2 weeks worth of baseball that I didn't go over, and then we'll just hop right back in after I get back from leave. And that'll be the series that the Giants are playing during the week of the 4th of July. Let's see what, excuse me, who that is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Monday, July 3rd, they start a 3-game set against Seattle in San Francisco. And they'll be returning from a road trip that had them playing Toronto and New York Mets. Okay, so we'll start with the Seattle series, and maybe I'll do an episode going over their series against the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Blue Jays, and the Mets. That's Jesus. 1, 2, 3. That's 5 series. I didn't realize I'd be missing that many series. But I want to thank everybody that does listen for listening. I do appreciate it. Any feedback you can give is well appreciated. Sources for all the info today: ESPN, Baseball Savant, Baseball Reference, Ump Scorecards, NBC Sports Bay Area, and The Athletic. And I hope everybody has a great week. Let's get started with this Cardinals game here in 15 minutes. And I'll see everybody probably on Thursday. And after that, it'll be 2 weeks where I'll be taking a break. Peace.